And let's talk about David Archuleta. So David Archuleta has a book. I don't know, is it out already? I think it might be out. But anyway, so he did an exclusive interview with People where he talked about his book Devout. And also, not only that, but he revealed why he chose homelessness at the height of his career. Now, this is something that shocked me because I had no idea that David Archuleta, cute little self, was, a nomad. So in his new memoir, Devout, the American Idol runner-up reveals that he chose to be homeless and live out of his car in the wake of his rapid rise to fame. He opened up about that decision in an interview with People, telling the outlet, he said, I didn't feel like I deserved to take care of myself. So even though I was having a lot of success in the public, I was sleeping in my car a lot of times because that's what I believed I deserved. That's a lot of that, him being gay and in the closet and how he hated himself. And no shade, but I feel like I've been there a lot of times too, where the point was when you're a person of color, especially, and you're told that and grown up in the 90s, well, yeah, we were progressive in a lot of ways in how times was changing and people were being a little more, I feel, even though we had the AIDS Holocaust and that sort of thing, there was a bit of edginess and queer acceptance that we were seeing in cinema, and just feeling like there was a time where parents were kicking kids out of their homes. And if you ever went down to the piers in New York, you would definitely see a lot of the homeless kids that was down there that were resorting to selling their bodies or whatever the case was, just so they could have three hots and a cot, and just putting themselves through a whole situation. And luckily I didn't have to deal with that. But when you're someone who's in the closet and you're afraid of the ridicule and people hating you because of who you are, you start the whole self-hating thing and you feel like I don't deserve this, the success that I have. And I think that's also what I will admit prolonged me from wanting to have success in my life, because I felt like I wouldn't be able to get to be in a certain place because I couldn't be my authentic self, or when I would get certain things that I didn't deserve it. So you have to find a way to mind trick yourself and get yourself out of those things and really feel like, and really tell yourself that you are worthy of the things that you receive. And it took me a long time to get there mentally. So, after starring in American Idol season 7 and releasing his hit single Crush in 2008, Archuleta was initially living with a relative but chose to live in his car instead, even though he could afford a hotel stay. I had concocted this belief that I didn't deserve to treat myself well, he writes in his book. It was an act of contrition for my wicked thoughts, for allowing myself to be manipulated by so many. I was at the height of fame and I chose homelessness. You can have everything, but worthlessness comes from within, and I had none. So, this is so sad to hear when you feel like, you know what, I'm not even worthy of any kind of love or success because I'm gay. And it's just like being a Mormon, I'm like, damn, if this what y'all teaching people, or just this is why I stay away from religion, because of what a lot of that brings, a lot of self-hatred. So, however, everything changed when a cop who recognized him caught him sleeping in his car. That experience did force me to acknowledge that living this way might have consequences beyond what I already knew. I could see the headline now: American Idol finalist sleeps in his car. Archuleta, who was raised in the Mormon church, publicly came out as queer in 2021 and left the church the following year, all of which he details in his new book, and of which he told People, it's nice to look back and be like, I got through that in my very imperfect way of doing it, but I made it through it and I found a way to feel better about myself. And even if I wasn't able to accept it at the time, I can look back 16, 17 years later and say, I worked my ass off. I worked as hard as I could. Even feeling miserable through all of that and feeling ashamed to even be there, I worked as hard as I knew how to. Now, speaking to Entertainment Weekly in 2023, after his stint on The Masked Singer, Archuleta echoed that statement, even admitting that he finds it hard to watch performances from that time in his life. So I think it's hard for me to watch American Idol, for example, because I was young and I was very much terrified of myself. And I was just like, well, if I do everything the right way, that part of me won't come forward. I was trying so hard to not just hide that part of me, but to push it down. And that's why sometimes when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I see that I was exhausted, but I was also trying so hard not to be who I naturally was. And that's why I feel like when people come out here and say all that homophobic shit, We don't realize the amount of energy and pressure that so many queer kids, even if they're not famous, I feel like famous people put a face to it because there's a relatability there, and young people who are dealing with this, or so many people, like it's a tale as old as time. He's gone through it. My generation's gone through it. So many others have gone through it, and it's, when you look back on it, it's just like we a lot of us have been there, where you try to push down and suppress that part of yourself that people hate you for, all because it's a taught behavior from your church or family members, whatever the case is, where it's wrong, it's an abomination, it's all these things. And you either, some people choose to just take themselves out of the equation, if you know what I'm saying. I think you do, because they can't handle the hatred and the vitriol. Or you have people like myself and David Archuleta and so many others who find the strength within themselves to rise up amongst the hate and figure out how to navigate themselves out of that storm. But those who are able to do it, it's like you can look back on it and write about it and say, like, yeah, um, I don't want to look at those videos or parts of me, because that was a point in my life where you could clearly see in my energy and the way that I look and everything that was a part of my life where I hated myself. And I'm in such a good place now. I don't want to look back on that. But looking back on it, it just goes to show that what you don't want to do when you get over, because I would look at David, I was like, oh, he's so adorable. He's like a little puppy. Like, you looked at him and you felt so bad. Like, you could see that there was something behind those eyes and something going on with him, and you wanted him to work through it. I thought maybe it was a little closetness, but you don't want to be outing people and all this other stuff, because I always feel like people have to come out on the other side of the rainbow in their own time. And I'm glad that he was able to do that. So shout out to you, David. Hopefully the book is successful. And I hope it does open a door for more people who are products of the world of religion to break the chains of that and realize being gay is not a phase. It's not something that is taught. It is a part of who people are. It's not all of who we are, but it's a part of us. And you can't deny all the aspects of who you are, because when you try to push it down and bury it, eventually those things have a way of rising up to the top, to the point where you can't cover it no more. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Because I'm like, that's crazy. And luckily, that nothing happened to you where somebody tried to like break in your car and rob you or God knows what to you, especially living in your car. And I guess I'm assuming Los Angeles. And that's got to be scary to be living out there in your car, because it's like you felt worthless. Or even the stuff where we talked about on the show, that he was trying to find different locations where he could take his own life because he didn't deserve to live, because he had these feelings of same-sex attraction. So whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.